The fire truck stopped right in front of my house lights, flashing ladder already swinging out because one of my goats had climbed onto the roof and refused to come down. Neighbors gathered instantly. Kids pointed, even the Amazon driver parked just to watch. 3 goats were dragging me across the lawn while the 4th stood proudly on the shingles like he owned the place. HOA President Paula Grimes hit record on her phone the second she saw the chaos, smiling like it was the best day of her life. And if you think this looks bad, you should hear what started it. Rewind to that Saturday morning before sirens, before roof goats, before Cedar Ridge Reserve turned into a petting zoo disaster. It was just me, my old gas mower, and the sweet roar of freedom. The engine shook the ground as I carved the first diagonal line into my lawn. I hadn't even made my second pass when I felt it, that cold, judging presence all HOA homeowners know too well. I turned and there she was, Paula Grimes, HOA president, standing at the edge of my yard in a silk robe holding a coffee mug that said, "Serenity," while radiating anything but serenity. She didn't yell, she didn't wave. She just waited, forcing me to shut off my mower out of basic human politeness. That was her first power move. The silence hit like a slap. Paula glided across my grass, pulled a laminated sheet from her robe pocket, and handed it to me without blinking. "Noise disturbance notice," she said. "Your mower exceeds our acceptable morning decibel window. It's 803, I said. "That's after 8. She smiled, tight, polished, deadly. "Evan, harmony isn't just a rule, it's a lifestyle. And your machine disrupts that." That was Paula in one sentence, perfectly beige, perfectly calm, and perfectly willing to run your life with a clipboard. Laura always said Paula had been pushing stricter rules every year. Honestly, I never cared until she came for my mower, the one thing that made my week bearable, after endless spreadsheets and fluorescent lights. And that laminated warning, yeah, that was the spark that lit the entire goat-shaped fuse. I stormed back into the house, laminated notice in hand, still smelling like gasoline and pride. Laura didn't even look up from her tablet. "What did Paula laminate this time?" she asked. "My dignity," I said, slapping the notice on the counter. "She wrote me up for mowing at 8:03. Laura sighed, the sigh of a woman who has fought and lost too many HOA battles. "Evan, she already sent a group message about it. Everyone in Cedar Ridge saw." I grabbed my laptop like a man preparing for trial. "She wants a fight, I'll bring evidence." I printed old engine articles, noise charts, even dragged out a dusty binder labeled Mower Theory. Laura watched me draw a crooked graph titled "Fast Mower equals less noise time." "Evan," she said gently, "they're going to laugh at you." "They won't laugh," I said. Spoiler, they laughed. Paula's living room looked like a beige courtroom. The board sat shoulder to shoulder on a perfect white couch, while I sat alone in a wooden chair, positioned dead center, like a defendant. "We'll begin," Paula said, clicking her remote. A slideshow appeared on her giant TV. Decibel readings, doorbell footage, a video of a neighbor's flower pot violently vibrating during my Saturday mow, a chart titled Engine Aggression Index. She made that up. Every click felt like being stabbed with a pastel-colored spreadsheet. These, Paula said, represent unacceptable disruptions. "So, what's acceptable?" I asked. "Electric," she said, silent, civilized. Then she delivered the blow. "All in favor of banning gas mowers over 70 decibels. Hands shot up in unison. The ban took effect immediately. Paula slid a new laminated fine across the coffee table like a Vegas dealer. Walking out of her house felt like walking out of a courtroom where justice had been strangled by a beige robe. Paula had crossed the line, and I was about to cross it back. That night, I descended into an internet rabbit hole labeled HOA loopholes that technically aren't illegal. Hours later, I found it. Pets and animals. No aggressive dogs, no snakes, no chickens, no exotic birds, but no mention none of goats. I sat up in bed, like a man who'd discovered fire. By sunrise, I had already called Rusty Hale goat dealer, philosopher, and possibly feral. "You want goats in a subdivision?" he asked. "They're quiet," I said. Rusty cackled so hard he had to put down the phone. Quiet ain't the word I'd use, city boy. 2 hours later, 4 goats stood in the rickety trailer behind my borrowed pickup Chewy Thunder, Milo, and the smallest mean-eyed one Rusty called Darla. "They eat everything," Rusty warned. "Wires, plastic, regret." To keep myself within HOA code, I hired Marco Lopez to build a white picket fence, but secretly reinforce it from the inside, with metal mesh strong enough to hold a bison. When we released the goats, they spread out across my lawn, chomping away like furry lawn Roombas. It was perfect. Until the next morning. The lawn was a disaster. Random bald spots, untouched jungle patches, goat poop buried like landmines. Then the real hit: thunder chewed a strip of vinyl, siding off the house like a noodle. Laura walked outside, froze, and whispered the words, "Every husband fears Evan. They ate my lilies." Everything in my soul clenched. By noon, the smell had escalated from farm fresh to apocalypse. That's when a police cruiser rolled to the curb. Officer Duran stepped out, took one long inhale, and visibly regretted his life choices. "Mr. Carter," he said carefully, "we've received several complaints." Behind him, Paula peeked through her blinds like a villain in a wildlife documentary. "They're not illegal," I said, pointing to the goats. "The bylaws don't forbid ungulates." "Correct," Duran said, "but the city does. Livestock isn't permitted in zero-lot line residential zones." "That sounds made up," I muttered. "It's very real," he said, handing me a city-issued nuisance warning. "Keep them contained, reduce the smell, and for everyone's sanity, don't let them wander." As he left, Paula's blinds snapped shut triumphantly. I looked at the goats. They looked back at me. None of us respected the warning. Fueled by pure, stubborn panic, I upgraded the fence. 10-foot rebar stakes. Triple-layer mesh. A towering, ridiculous structure Laura labeled the Cedar Ridge Correctional Facility. "It's secure," I insisted. It was not. While I was at work, humming classic rock and feeling proud, Laura called me, voice shaking. "Evan, the goats are out." My blood froze. "How? There's a fence." "There was a fence," she corrected. "Thunder dug under it, like a criminal, a fast criminal." I drove home like a man fleeing a crime scene. What I arrived to was biblical. Chewie stood on Paula's luxury SUV, chewing her windshield wiper. Milo and Thunder were using the Henderson's decorative fountain as a jungle gym. Darla trotted down the street, carrying someone's mail in her mouth. Neighbors filmed. A delivery driver just sat in awe. Paula wore a neon vest and attempted badly to direct traffic around a goat, standing majestically in the road. Laura and I managed to wrangle 3 goats with the help of 2 laughing teenagers. Then we heard a faint bleat. We looked up. Darla was on our roof, hooves planted like she owned the place, casually eating a shingle, and that's when the sirens started again. The moment I saw the fire truck turn onto our streetlights, spinning horn blaring, I knew we had reached the point of no return. Cedar Ridge Reserve had officially become a circus, and my house was center ring. Captain Hayes stepped off the ladder truck with the energy of a man who had been summoned to deal with far too much stupidity this week. Officer Duran was already there, arms crossed, expression locked somewhere between exhaustion and disbelief. "Roof goat?" Captain Hayes asked. Duran nodded. "Roof goat." Behind them, half the neighborhood gathered. Kids sat on bikes. Parents held phones like they were live streaming the apocalypse. Even the Amazon driver leaned against his van, enjoying the show. And at the center of it all, Darla, standing on my roof, chomping a shingle like it was gourmet jerky. Paula Grimes emerged from her porch with the enthusiasm of a villain stepping into Act 3. Phone held high, smile sharp enough to cut vinyl siding. I believe she announced loudly, "This qualifies as a community safety hazard." No one asked for her opinion. She gave it anyway. The firefighters propped the ladder against my house. A young rookie climbed toward Darla with the brave optimism of a man who had not yet been broken by the world. "Easy girl, nice goat," he whispered. Darla stared at him with pure disrespect. Then she lowered her head, bonk. The rookie flailed, clinging to the ladder as the crowd gasped. Paula zoomed in like she was filming a nature documentary titled "Idiot Encounters Wildlife." Captain Hayes barked, "We're doing this the hard way. Get the catch pole." The street went silent, except for Darla's steady chewing. And that's when everything truly fell apart. 15 chaotic minutes later, Darla was dragged, kicking, screaming, and insulted down the ladder and onto the grass. The moment her hooves hit the ground, she strutted away like she won the fight. Captain Hayes wiped sweat from his forehead. "This is above my pay grade," he muttered. Officer Duran approached me with a clipboard, and the kind of sigh that belongs to a man reconsidering his entire career. "Mr. Carter," he began, "I need to document today's events." That sentence alone felt like a felony. He flipped open the pad. First citation, public nuisance livestock in residential zone. Second, failure to contain animals. Third, creating unsafe conditions requiring emergency response. He paused, then scribbled something new. "What's that one?" I asked. "An unofficial category," he said. "Roof endangerment by goat. That's not real." "It is today," he said, tearing the sheet and handing it to me. Paula was practically levitating from happiness. "Officer," she said sweetly, "please note for the record that multiple residents felt unsafe. Several neighbors nodded, not out of fear, but because they didn't want to disagree with the Queen of Beige. And Paula continued, the HOA board will be reviewing Mr. Carter's property for additional violations. She said additional like she'd been waiting her whole life to use it. That's when Laura stepped outside. Hair messy, face drained, overnight bag in her hand. She walked past the police, past the firefighters, past me. Then she turned. Evan, she said quietly, I'm staying at my sister's tonight. I can't do this. Laura, you have 24 hours, she said. Either the goats go, or I do. She got in her car, started the engine, drove away from the disaster that was our front lawn. And as Paula filmed the last of it, smiling like she had finally won, I realized I had lost control of everything. When the trucks and cruisers finally pulled away, an unnatural silence fell over Cedar Ridge. No sirens, no shouting, just the sound of 4 goats bleeding in the world's ugliest homemade cage. I stood on the porch holding a stack of citations thick enough to qualify as a novella. My phone buzzed. A text from Laura, please fix this. I want to come home. I sat down on the steps, staring at the wreckage. Chunks of torn sod, scattered goat pellets, a mailbox full of chewed mail, a shingle missing from the roof, and a faint hoof print on Paula's SUV next door. No part of my life was offered, intact. And that's when I made the most humiliating call of my life. Rusty Hale answered on the second ring. Let me guess, he said. One of them got on the roof. Yes. Rusty laughed so hard I had to hold the phone away from my ear. Told you Darla was a climber. Her mama used to scale hay barns. Rusty, I said, I need you to come get them. Please. Well, he said thoughtfully, I don't usually do returns. I'll pay. How much? Name a number. He named a number. It hurt. I'll be there at sunrise, he said. Don't let him eat your wiring. I hung up and stepped inside the house alone for the first time since the chaos began. The silence wasn't peaceful, it was heavy. Morning came slow. At exactly 7 a.m., Rusty's rattling truck pulled into the driveway. The goats perked up like their Uber had arrived. As soon as Rusty opened the trailer, they trotted inside, calm, smug, as if they had accomplished everything they came to do. Darla paused at the gate. She looked back at me, not with guilt, with judgment. Then she hopped in. Rusty slammed the gate shut. Good luck with your lawn, city boy, he said. And just like that, he drove away with the 4 horsemen of my personal apocalypse. I stood alone in the quiet of my ruined yard, clutching the citations, knowing one thing. The goats were gone, but the consequences were just beginning. The morning Rusty hauled the goats away, I stood in the yard, staring at the wreckage they left behind. The silence was thick, not peaceful, accusing. The new sod I'd laid last spring, destroyed. The fountain next door head-butted into a modern art installation. My siding looked like someone had taken a giant vegetable peeler to it. And worst of all, the empty driveway. Laura's car was gone, her suitcase still missing from the closet. The weight of everything I'd lost pressed down on me at once. And then, a laminated note flapped against my screen door. I didn't need to read it to know who it was from. Paula Grimes, Queen of HOA Procedures. I peeled it off. Due to recent events, the HOA requires immediate remediation of fence height violation, yard sanitation violation, unauthorized livestock, property damage visible from the street, excessive odor, nuisance, compliance required within 14 days. 14 days. To fix an entire farm disaster zone. I didn't even have goats anymore, just their legacy. But for the first time in days, the anger didn't feel wild or chaotic. It felt focused. I called a landscaper. I called a siding contractor. I called Fernando to remove the rebar chicken wire monstrosity he'd politely pretended to believe was for wolfhounds. And for the next 6 days, I worked until my back felt like a pretzel. I shoveled. I patched. I pressure washed. I spent more money than I want to admit. By day 7, the disaster was gone, buried under new sod, new panels, and new humiliation. But I wasn't doing it for the HOA. I was doing it for Laura. Laura came home quietly, no drama, no shouting. She walked through the doorway like someone testing the temperature of a room. Her eyes scanned the freshly restored lawn, the smooth new siding, the clean walkway. You fixed everything, she said. I'm sorry, I said, and for once the words didn't feel defensive. I should have listened. She stepped closer. I know why you fought, she said. You hate being pushed around. And Paula, she pushes. Still, I said I shouldn't have dragged goats into suburban warfare. A small smile tugged at her mouth. The roof goat was a bit much. I almost laughed. Almost. We sat together on the porch steps, same spot where the chaos began, and watched the breeze ripple through the new sod. I bought a quiet mower, I said. Battery-powered, whisper soft. Good, she said. No more citations. I held up the stack of pink papers. Only the ones I framed for emotional damage. She nudged me with her shoulder. Let's rebuild, she said softly. No more goats. No more goats, I agreed, then paused. Maybe a rabbit someday. She gave me that dangerous eyebrow raise, the one that says, "Don't test me." Fair enough. We spent the next week settling back into normal life. For the first time in a long time, Cedar Ridge felt peaceful, quiet, predictable, and then rabbits began to show up. At first one, then two, then six, all happily munching the fescue across the street Paula's yard. I didn't question it. I didn't feed them. I didn't interfere. But I did check something the landscapers had done. Under the new sod near the fence line, the hole Thunder dug the escape tunnel was still there. Small, but open. Not enough for goats. Perfect for rabbits. I didn't dig it. I didn't widen it. I didn't touch it. Nature simply remembered. The following Saturday morning, I rolled my new whisper mower out onto the lawn. It hummed like a polite vacuum cleaner. No roars, no smoke, no HOA violations. Paula strutted onto her porch, arms crossed, lips pursed. She was ready, itching to find a reason to correct me. Instead, all she found was a quiet, compliant homeowner pushing a mower softer than her electric toothbrush. Her disappointment was almost poetic, and then she heard it, a soft chewing sound. She turned toward her yard. Dozens of rabbits were lounging across her perfect fescue lawn like it was an all-you-can-eat salad bar. She screamed a sound so sharp it made 3 birds take off from the trees. My fescue, get out, go shoo. The rabbits did not care. The rabbits did not fear her. The rabbits did not obey laminated notices. Neighbors peeked out, some laughed, some filmed. Paula, still in her robe, chased them with a broom, shouting things that violated the HOA bylaws she cherished so much. Laura stepped beside me, watching the scene unfold like a nature documentary. "You didn't," she whispered. "Nope," I said. "You didn't plan this." "Nope." "You're sure, Laura?" I said, putting a hand over my heart. "I swear on the Whisper Mo 3000. Nature did this all on its own." A long silence. Then she laughed, the first true, full laugh since the roof incident. It felt good, right, balanced. Across the street, Paula shrieked as a rabbit sat triumphantly on her decorative mulch bed, chewing a flower older than our marriage. Laura squeezed my hand. "You know," she said, "sometimes the universe handles justice." "Yeah," I said, watching Paula wage war on fluffballs. "Sometimes it just needs a little tunnel." We went back to mowing, quiet, compliant, victorious. And for the first time since the whole nightmare began, I enjoyed the silence.